If you're like me, you've probably seen a ton of behind the scenes photos and videos of guys wearing rigs like these on set and have wondered, how well do they actually work and are they worth the money? I'm gonna be answering those questions today in this video. And the one we're looking at today is called the DF Digitalfoto hook vest. So here's how it comes out of the box in this nice little carrying case. And you can see it's not too big. It's definitely something you could throw in the back of your car or your truck and have space for other gear. So it's really easy to pack up. It just splits right in half with the vest and then the top kind of hook portion. So get this out of the way and I'll show you how to get this set up. You just take this part and insert it into here. And then this knob right here is the tension knob. And really all you can do is tighten this up. So I'm gonna tighten this up and you can go all the way up with it, but that's gonna be probably a little bit too much tension for the camera. This is something you're gonna have to play with a bit. And the only other adjustment knob on here is this little red knob. So when you pull this, it actually releases all tension on it and you have to tighten it again. So I already know where mine should sit and that just took some trial and error. So I'm gonna tighten mine up to right about there. And then it's already set up, it's ready to go. Now there's a couple key things you should know about this specific model. Some of the other models may be a little bit different. One, this top hook is not fixed. It actually rotates 360 degrees around. Now for some people, they may like that because you can kind of move your arms and it'll rotate over. For me, I found it a little bit annoying and not necessary because I've got the rope and I can just move that where I want. Another public service announcement is that when you've got this set up, do not lift it from this arm, because if you lift it from this arm, it's gonna pull out like that. And oops, now all the tension and everything is messed up. Not good. So you do not wanna lift it from that. Don't do what I just did. I'm gonna go ahead and release this, put it back in and kind of tighten it back down. I find that to be a bit of a strange engineering choice. Instead of having a way to lock it into place with a knob or something, tighten it down, but just something to be aware of. You wanna be lifting it from the shoulder straps when you're putting this on. Okay, now that we've gone over the basics, it's really that simple. Let's just put this thing on. And you put it on just like you would a normal backpack. And then you've got this one at the bottom. You want to just tighten up nice and snug. So it puts a lot of the weight on your hips. And then tighten this one up across your chest. There we go, that's it. Really, really easy and quick to put on. So before I attach the camera, I wanna go over a few other little design things. What I've gotta say about this is it's pretty comfortable to wear. There's a lot of padding in the hips here and it's not digging in at all. And it's comfortable on the back as well. There's definitely enough padding to make it feel supportive and not like sweaty and hot with like plastic and metal touching your body. Another thing is the buckles all feel pretty good and solid. They are plastic. It'd be nice if they were made of metal so they'd feel a little bit more robust, but honestly, they do the trick. There's these little metal supports here in the back and the entire back rig here feels really solid, all made of a really solid hard plastic and different components made of metal. All right, now let's get the camera on and I'll show you one of the issues I have is that when you're not using this thing, it swings around behind you and just kind of swings around ready to attack you. And if you're not careful, this thing might just smack you in the face, which I've had happen a couple times. They do sell a model that's fixed. Let's get this bad boy mounted. All you have here is, I'll come up close and show you this, is basically a tension spring. So there's a little thumb knob here that you just push up on, and then it's going to latch down onto your rig. There's no other tightening or anything like that. There's not like a safety screw or anything to kind of tighten it and lock it into place. I've used other easy rig type models where it does lock into place so you feel like, okay, it's definitely on there. That's something I'd like to see them add in the future where it locks off, but there's definitely enough tension and through all my use, it hasn't come off, especially because the weight of gravity is holding it on that hook. Okay, so what I like to do is pull this down and then just go in like this. And boom, I've got it on the top handle and there we go. You can see it's that easy to attach. It's not complicated at all. There's no screwing it on or attaching it with tools or anything like that. So if you're moving quick on set and you got to get this thing back off, boom, I just pull it off like that. So that does make it really simple. Well, there it goes again, helicoptering over my head. I really like to have my camera rig at a comfortable spot, just kind of where I can have my elbows bent just at a 90-degree angle and have the camera straight in front of me. You could obviously have it up higher and it'll support you up there, but then it's pulling on your back more, or you could have it really low. It just depends on the shot that you're doing. But what's nice is wherever you pull it to, it just stays there. It doesn't like retract back up like an elevator and take it somewhere that you don't want it to be. You can get it right to the height that you want, and it stays there with that tension. Now, the camera setup that I'm using today is pretty heavy. We've got a fully rigged out Sony FX6 with the V-mount battery with the tilted cage and top handle, and then I've got a small HD 5-inch monitor here on top with the dual Sony NPF batteries, and then the Polar Pro Basecamp matte box here in the front with a mist filter. So all of that adds up to quite a bit of weight. And when I'm shooting with this setup all day long, which I just did a full music video with this, which was like 12, 14-hour day, it was a lot of weight to carry. And it was before I had this setup. I wish I had had this when I was doing that full day shoot, because my arms and back were killing me after that. Now, when you're using a hook vest, the easiest way to mount your camera is from the top handle. And you can pretty much throw a top handle on just about any camera. If you're using a gimbal setup, you've got to have a ring gimbal. And I'll post some photos or videos here so you can see what it looks like to use this camera rig with a ring gimbal. I don't use a ring gimbal anymore. I used to in the past, but honestly, it just got too bulky and heavy for me, so I've gone back down to a single-handed gimbal. Now, once you've got your camera mounted to the top handle, you want to do a little bit of back and front balancing, because when you let go, you want the camera to be level with the ground. So if I had mounted this at the back of my top handle here, then look at that, it's dipping down. When I let go, my shots are always going to be pointing down. And same thing if I go way too far forward. See if I can show you that. Now it's pointing up a little bit. Obviously your camera rig is going to be different, but just move this back and forth along the handle until it's nice and level. So how's my experience been shooting with the hook vest? Well, I've used models like these in the past with other gimbal rig setups and handheld, and I've always really loved it for those really long shoot days, events, weddings, things like that, because it's an absolute lifesaver. And it's up to par with other models in the market that I've used before. Now, when you're on set shooting with this, I want to kind of show you how that looks. So a lot of times I'm right here filming with it, looking at the monitor. And then when I want to get low, I'll show you how far this can go. That's about as far as it goes, and I just heard it kind of pulling in the back. I've hit my length, and it's basically right beneath my belt. That's about as low as I can go. So if I want to get lower, I got to take a knee and shoot with it like this. And I've definitely done that. I was just shooting with it the other day, and I was taking a knee and getting low with it. So that's something you've got to be aware with. You may not have full mobility with this because you are tethered. And another thing is, if you want those high shots, it's definitely nice because you can get it a little bit higher and kind of aim it to where you want and have a little bit of that support. And you're not going to be holding all of that weight when you want to get it a little bit higher. Now, another thing to be aware of is that if you're walking around with this, trying to get a lot of walking shots, I find that it does tug on it a little bit, especially if your hands are on it, and that can make the shots a little bit more rocky. So for me, this is probably not a setup that I would use when I'm handheld for walking shots. This is more of I'm holding still and I'm getting different shots or documentary shots, music video shots, where I'm pretty static and I'm just doing small movements here and I'm not trying to walk with someone. If I was doing that, I would switch to the ring gimbal setup using this, and then I could get those nice smooth walking shots. Obviously I'm over dramatizing it here, but you get the idea that it's going to give you a little bit of that rocking. Now, DF Digitalfoto does make one accessory for this called the Serene, and it mounts up here and it has some springs in it, and it's essentially like a dampener. So it might take away a little bit of that bouncing when you're walking with it, but I've kind of heard mixed reviews on that, so I'm not sure. I haven't actually tested it myself. So what are the cons of the DF Digitalfoto hook vest? One of them I already mentioned at the beginning of this video, and that's the fact that this top arm can pop out when you pull on it. It doesn't lock into place. I feel like that's a little bit strange, and it really should lock into place. The other thing for me is that this one rotates, but take that with a grain of salt because they have another model that's completely static and it will not rotate on you. Now, when it comes to pricing, the hook vest is pretty competitively priced. On Amazon right now, it goes for $885 US. Now, there are some cheaper models that you can get, but obviously sometimes when you go cheaper, you sacrifice on quality. And of course, there are much more expensive ones you can get that go into the $3,000 and $4,000 from some other brand names you probably know. Although it is less than other models, it still costs a good chunk of change to get something like this. And if you're not using it all the time, it may not be worth it to you because honestly, your arms are completely free and you can just hold it like this, get your shots, and it doesn't cost you anything to do that handheld work. Now, your arms and back might be totally toast at the end of the day, but Didn't cost you anything, at least. Now, I think if you're someone that does a lot of handheld work with a really heavy camera or uses a gimbal with a ring, and that's a pretty heavy rig, something like this could be a total win for you, especially if you do really long shoot days for things like weddings, events, and documentaries. So if you're interested in picking one of these up, definitely check out the link in the description below. Now, I want to say a special thanks to DF Digital Photo for sending this out for review. They didn't pay me to say any of this or see this video before posting. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video.